Those of you who watched my film of last year's festival will know that the film of the same name was a potpourri of all the activities behind the scenes which go to make up the festival and allow the racing proper to take place in a smooth and professional way. Dear old Bud Jackson was the first person I encountered as I made my way towards the scrutineering area on the 21st of August. Bless him, we lost him later in the week in a racing accident. Rest in peace, Bud. My series of still images of the Senior Classic and Junior Classic bikes preparing for practice include John Barton's Matchless, Mike Parrott's Norton there, number 21, Ollie Linsdell's Enfield, Chris McGann's 350 Honda, number 21, which is a junior machine, Bob Owen's Seeley, which is a senior machine, Richard Wilson's Honda, which is also a senior machine with the yellow plates, and Alec Whitwell's 350 Honda, which is a junior bike. Two more senior machines, Steve Ferguson's Honda, number 27, and Horst Sager's Egli Vincent, which is manufactured by Patrick Godet in France. Patrick is not here this week. Next up is Michael Russell's Senior Norton, number 19, and then number 16, Chris Swallow's Enfield for the Flitwick concern, and then an interesting bike, Bob Owen's Aermacchi, junior machine. There were two Velocets which intrigued me, and this is one of them, Bill Swallow's number 17 with titanium brake plates. And next to it is number 5, Derek McGee's Walmsley AJS, also a junior machine. And there's Michael Rutter's Walmsley Seeley, a senior machine. Next to it is number 13, the 500 Honda, entered by Davis Motorsport for their rider Lee Johnston. And hard against that is the other interesting velo, Chris Swallow's junior machine, which appears to have girder forks, but some otherwise rather modern fittings. Very interesting little bike. The next two mounts, numbers 8 and number 2, are the Hondas from Davis Motorsport for Dominic Herbertson and Alan Oversby. The blue and white machine next to them is Jamie Coward's Honda, number 3, and next to him is Dan Cooper's Honda, also a junior bike. And now we come to John McGuinness's Patton, which is of course a senior machine and received a great deal of attention from the media. The MVs under wraps are probably the John Chapman Racing MVs for Ian Locker and Dave Johnson in the senior race. Another look at Michael Rutter's Seeley, number 4, and Ollie Linsdell's Honda, number 9, Chris McGann's Honda, number 21, that we saw by the scrutineers, and Alec Whitwell's junior Honda, number 28. Number 30 is Chris Moore's junior Honda. Number 42 is Mick Morton's Peyton, breaking the corporate image with that colour green. Number 41 is Richard Wilson's Honda, and then Dave Webber, number 56, from Team Tortoise on his Norton. And then John Daly's Honda, number 47, and then another Seeley, number 54, Arthur Browning. It's time I told you the practice didn't actually take place, but we'll continue to look at the bikes. There's Chris Bray's Beezer, number 63. These are all junior bikes. Mark Wood's Honda, number 65. And Garth Wood's Honda, number 70. So we're out of the woods now. Number 58, Jamie O'Brien's Honda. And lastly, David Tetley's very smart Ducati, number 79. The following morning I was invited by Mr. John Davis, the owner of the Davis Motorsport Honda team, to just have a look round their headquarters unit in the paddock. This team, of course, was William Dunlop's team last year, and his loss is a blow to the team. Technical problems in practice week were further misfortunes, but as you will see later on, if you watch the later films, you will see that they came out victorious in the end. And well done to them. Their bikes were superbly turned out. Look closely at the registration number of the van. A very fitting tailpiece, I think. The first person that I encountered as I walked around the pits on the Friday morning was this splendid gentleman, Marco Bloomer, with his Moto Sacoche 414 500cc Swiss machine, which he intended to ride in the Heroes Parade Lap.
90-30, and the gearbox is 30-31. Where they changed it, it was much better than the 3-speed hand shifted. Yeah.
Hopefully you heard him explain there that it's a 1930 machine, and then he set about demonstrating it to me. Most interesting. Thank you, Mr. Bloomer. Next, it was a visit to the Laila racing pit, where the bikes of Ian Locker and Dean Harrison, their lightweight machines, were both in a pretty denuded state, so there wasn't much to be identified. Interesting, nevertheless.
Getting away at some point, haven't you?
It had to happen, yeah.
But anyway, you know where I am. You've got my number.
Yeah,
if you're stuck,
I do.
just
Thanks,
give
thanks
me a
very
ring.
much.
Yeah.
Cheers.
See ya.
Bye.
Well, yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
You're happy. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, no,
definitely.
that's
Next up was a look through the door of the pit of Paget's motorcycles. Bike number 13 is the 250 Honda, which Lee Johnson will ride in the classic lightweight race, and behind that is the larger bike, Connor Cummings, number 10, his 750 Yamaha Superbike. Moving seamlessly on to the Team York Suzuki pit, where we see number 8, Dave Johnson's 1100 Suzuki Superbike, and number 7 is Gary Johnson's similar machine. Bike number 3 is Philip Crow's large Suzuki, and alongside it is bike number 16, which is Danny Webb's 500cc Suzuki. The large Suzuki machine always looks a very tall bike to me, and therefore a daunting prospect to a rider, certainly as inexperienced as I am, but presumably not so to Dave and Gary Johnson. We've now moved on to the Oxford Products pit, and they're two superbike riders, both riding 851 Ducatis, are number 5 James Hillier and number 20 Joey Thompson, and their two bikes are on view there.
Sending a message. Good pair of socks you got there, son. Oh, okay, magic. Alright. Very good. Yeah, alright. What is that? Well, it should be.
Pretty clear details there of the runners and riders in the Obsession Engineering pit, and we see their bikes there. Eric Wilson's Kawasaki number 55, Dave Houston's Kawasaki number 32, Rob Farmer's 250 Yamaha, which is a parade bike, number 82, and that I think is number 26, the lightweight Yamaha TZ250.
Everything crossed for this afternoon and evening, yeah. I'm on this 55 and Dave.
Next we move on to the Mistral Racing pit, where we find the superbike Kawasaki's of Paul Jordan, number 6, and Davey Todd, number 12. There's Davey Todd's machine, which looks identical to the naked eye. Yes. Greenall Racing announced their racing team on their publicity material there. Horst Sager, Derek Shields and Steve Ferguson, who has 2 entries. Bike 14 there is Derek Shields' Superbike Kawasaki, and in the background is Steve Ferguson's Junior Honda 350, which he'll ride in the Classic Junior race. Even after all this time, 50 years, you can't help but marvel at the Honda engineering of that 4-cylinder machine. Absolutely beautiful. And upcoming, I think, is Horst Sager's machine, number 1. We are now in the pit allocated to the Whiz Norton organisation. They race the rotary machines. Number 11 is Josh Brooks and number 43 is Richard Wilson. They ride in the superbike class. Bike number 41 there, the red machine, is the second of Richard Wilson's machines, a 500 Honda, which is in the senior classic race. There's another view of Richard Wilson's Honda, and in the background you'll see Triumph number 16. I suspect that that's a parade bike, not a race bike as such. Just to prove a point, there it is, being ridden by Mick Hayth. It's a Rob North Triumph. Very smart. Meanwhile, work on the Honda continues. In the Works Racing Machine pit, we shall see the bikes of John Lee Pemberton, number 32, and number 21, Mark Parrott, which are Senior Classic Nortons. The Binch Racing pit is home to bike number 3, Adam McLean's lightweight class Yamaha. This is Andrew Dudgeon's bike. I'm afraid some of my film was somewhat disturbed by the noise of the generator in the background, but that's the way it was. We're now in the Alistair Cowan Racing pit, where we shall see bike number 13, which is Andrew Dudgeon's Kawasaki Superbike, plus bike number 40, which is Paul Owen's Kawasaki Superbike, and then we shall see number 12, which is also Paul Owen's bike, this time a Honda in the lightweight class. The pit box proudly announces Jeff Bates Racing, together with bike number 28, which is Alec Whitwell's Junior Honda, and then we shall see bike 65, which is a 1100cc Suzuki Funky Monk Racing. I like that name. And the naked bike I was unable to identify, but the engineering of that space frame is absolutely amazing. I've tried welding, but
real fit stuff.
That brazing is superb. I was equally unable to identify this gentleman or his bike, but he was so demonstrative with his explanation that he deserved a mention. We're now in the John Chapman Racing pit, where we see bike number 11, Joey Thompson's lightweight Honda, and then we shall see Dave Johnson's 250 Honda, number 6. The Honda on the stand with the yellow tank may well be a parade bike. My dear wife seems suitably impressed. And finally, at the end of the line of bikes is Ian Locker's 3-cylinder MV, 500cc capacity. In my working life, I was fortunate to spend quite an amount of time at the original MV factory and to see firsthand the trophies won over the years since before the war. Another world. The Ripley Land Racing Pit is that which is shared by Michael Rutter's Sealy, his senior bike, and Derek McGee's 7R AJS, bike number 5. I couldn't identify for whom the Norton was intended, but there's Derek's AJ, which is prefixed as a Walmsley AJS. Well, Mr. Walmsley, of course, is the engine tuner. Back now at the Davis Motorsport pit, where spirits are still rather low after a difficult time. In fact, the closing scene, Mr. John Davis literally draws down the curtain, or shall I say a veil, over proceedings as work continues to sort out their technical problems. I'll leave you in no doubt. The practice on the evening of the 24th of August did actually take place. We start with a couple of bikes that we've looked at previously, the Davis Motorsport Hondas of Alan Oversby and Lee Johnson. And on the left of the picture, number 35, is the junior Honda of Russell Robery. The green bike there, number 46, is Josh Daly's Kawasaki Superbike. The 139 is a senior Manx Grand Prix bike, Andy McPherson's Suzuki GXR 750. He comes from Rastrick, brass band country. Number 56 with the green plate is James O'Brien's lightweight Yamaha. And behind him is number 47, Ross Orchard's bike. This Manx Grand Prix senior bike, which is a Suzuki GSXR 750, entered by Martin Bullock and ridden by Brendan Farquhar from Balsala. Bike number 60 is to be ridden by Neil Champion and is a classic Kawasaki Superbike. Alongside him is a lightweight classic Yamaha. Bike number 40 with the umbrella is Paul Owen's Kawasaki Superbike. And bike number 25 is a similar machine, Rob Hodgson. This imposing machine is a junior Manx Grand Prix bike for David Butler, who hails from Era. It's a Kawasaki. In the foreground is number 20, the Oxford Products 851 Ducati of Joey Thompson. Behind him is Michael Rutter's Ducati number 4, the yellow machine. The Paget's Honda in the background is Connor Cummings, number 10, his superbike. Those two distinctive machines are of course the Whiz Nortons of Josh Brooks and Richard Wilson, the rotary machines. Numbers 9 and 1 are the lightweight classic Yamahas to be ridden by Michael Sweeney and Dan Cooper. Ricky McGovern's lightweight classic Honda carries the HM Plant graphic, and behind him is bike number 6, which is a Manx Grand Prix machine for Alan Johnson, another Northern Ireland competitor to Kawasaki. Alan is a Manx Grand Prix newcomer, as is number 8 Andrew McAllister on his Suzuki, and Ben Shuttlewood number 7 on a Triumph Daytona. That's the first Triumph we've seen. There's Ben Shuttlewood's Triumph Daytona number 7, and alongside him, to his left, is number 30 Chris Swallow, 750 Ducati, which is a classic lightweight machine in the Mike Harewood replica colours. Bike number 66 nearest the camera is Noel Carroll's Junior Manx Grand Prix Yamaha, and to his right is Joey Thompson's John Chapman Racing Honda number 11, which we looked at previously. There we see number 53 Andrew Cowie with his classic lightweight Kawasaki. Now a rather longer look at bike number 5, Ian Locker, with his Laila Team Yamaha, which is a classic lightweight machine. I had a brief chat, in fact, with Ian and suggested he's had more comebacks than Frank Sinatra, but he said his desire to race classic bikes meant that he also had to race elsewhere, so some of his appearances were almost inevitable. The result of wanting to do one thing meant he had also to play a part elsewhere. Very effectively too, I should add. The bikes will be called to the starting grid very soon, but just time to look at number 23, the classic lightweight Yamaha of Tom Snow, and then the junior bikes of Simon Hunt, number 47, sponsored by Dennis Trollope in Bristol. And then in a moment or two we shall see Tom Snow again. At least it says Snowy on the back of his leather, so that's a clue. Then we see bike number 44, Heffin Owens, Honda Lightweight, which is there behind Tom's machine. In a moment or two we shall see Dan Sales Lightweight Yamaha 250, number 7. Unfortunately, Dan had an accident in the first lap of the race proper later on in the festival. Bike number 66 is Pete Murray's Superbike. I'll resist any mention of 6.5 Special.
Attention paddock, attention paddock. I can confirm now that the TT Mountain course is now completely locked down. We're ready for racing, or ready for practice I should say. So we've got a start time of 6:23. 6:23 for the first bike down Prix Hill. Thank you. Control out.
I've seen fewer Vincents in the lineup this year, but Fox Racing have not disappointed with their Go Day Vincent Gray Flash 500 to be ridden by Alex Sinclair in the Classic Senior race. And next to them is number 16, the Enfield of Chris Swallow, which is also a Classic Senior machine. They look wonderful. Well done. Initially, at least, we watched the Classic Superbike coming to the line. I won't attempt to identify each and every one as they leave the line. Lee Johnson and Connor Cummings are coming to the line on their Paget's machines, and then we shall see some of the other classes make their start. The ones at the line at the moment are Manx Grand Prix machines. Watch out at Balaf Bridge, because the rider of the yellow bike number 20 jumps like a stag. The green plates with white numbers are the lightweight Classic TT bikes. Ian Locker there, number 5 on the yellow machine. The bikes with white plates and black numbers are of course the Superbike Classic TT machines. These are junior Manx Grand Prix bikes, white digits on a black background. The orange bib worn by some riders is an indication that they are newcomers, which I reckon is a very sensible precaution. There's Chris Swallow, number 30 on the Halewood replica Ducati, which we looked at in Parc Fermé. Two more newcomers, Paul Fallon on the left and Benjamin Plant on the right. Number 7 is the Triumph Daytona Ben Shuttleworth, which we also looked at previously this evening. There's number 47 again, Ross Orchard in his David Jeffries tribute leathers, the Cornish Stig. The frustrations of having had limited practice time are plain for us all to see as the bikes still crowd forward to the start line. has to be a limit to the length of this practice procedure, because of course the riders out on the circuit will very soon be reappearing at the other end of the Glencrutchery Road, which would compromise them significantly. So these are the last few bikes. And the last man is number 45, Alistair Hayworth, on his lightweight classic TT Yamaha. Now we move to the second phase of the practice, which involved, at least initially, the senior and junior classics, although there were some Manx Grand Prix bikes towards the end of the practice session. The first of the senior bikes is Kevin Miller's Honda 500, and next to him is Mick Morton's Patton, which is not part of the Winfield team. I think this was a private entry by Mick Morton. And there to his right is Will Loader's Sealy number 43. Then we have two of the Davis Motorsport machines. That's Alan Oversby's bike and Lee Johnson's Honda. Bikes are lined up in numerical order, so this is our first look at bike number 1, John McGuinness's Winfield Patton. I must admit, I wasn't the only man taking photographs of this. It was pretty well surrounded. Next to him are the Davis Motorsport machines, which we've looked at already. There's two, numbers 13 and numbers 8, which is Dominic Herbertson's bike. Next we see two of Michael Rutter's machines, his senior Sealy, the Ripley Land machine, and his junior 350 Honda, and sandwiched between is Jamie Coward's Honda number 3. Maria Costello's Peyton number 10 is parked next to the Davis Motorsport machines, and there's Maria. Ian Locker's 3-cylinder MV was parked alongside Maria's Peyton and seemed to be giving a lot of trouble. There was most of the time I was there were more than one person attending to it. Cacophony of multi-cylinders is joined by the sound of the MV, which now appears to be running, having been started with the boosting device. Guinness's patent is very close by, as we've already seen, so I'll wait there, and in due course John arrived together with a significant entourage. Fortunately his dear wife was there too. John arrives in due course and prepares himself for the start of his practice session. Right, it's time for the off. Pulling up alongside John is Dominic Herbertson on his Davis Motorsport Honda. Dominic has pulled back and been replaced by Alan Oversby, another Davis Motorsport rider. On the left there, bike number 14, is James Hillier in his 500 Honda. Maria Costello coming forward now on the pattern, and to her left is Andrew Farrell on his lightweight Manx Grand Prix Kawasaki. Manx Grand Prix lightweight number 23 on the left is Brian Appleton Suzuki. I've got a sneaking suspicion I may have to change my vantage point. I've just spotted Hefin Owen, number 24, on his senior matchless, which of course will be a G50. And there's Michael Rutter on his Sealy, number 4. The classic junior bike there, number 15, with the blue plate, is Alex Sinclair's Honda. Classic senior bike number 32, just coming in the picture, is John Lee Pemberton's Norton, and on his left is Manx Grand Prix bike number 40, Paul Wardell's Suzuki. That's a lot better. Bike number 25 is Manx Grand Prix machine James Hind on his Honda newcomer, and the lightweight machine is Garth Woods on his Kawasaki on the right. And now the lightweights of Ian Stanford and Richard Stubbs, 41 and 17. A couple of overseas riders now. Eric Lenzar from France is number 22, and Daniel Fernandez is from Colombia, both Manx Grand Prix riders. Number 42 is Jeff Ward's classic junior bike, and Sam Grief on the right there is a Manx Grand Prix newcomer on his Honda. Next we have Ewan Hamilton on his classic junior Honda, number 23, and John Bain on the right on his Manx Grand Prix lightweight bike. And they're followed by number 43, similar mix, Arthur Browning on his junior bike, and Martin Currans on his Manx Grand Prix lightweight machine. And then we have the interesting Velocet of Chris Swallow, the one with the girder style forks. On the right is Dave Copper on his Manx Grand Prix bike. Now we have two classic senior bikes, Tony Tuttle number 68, and Bill Swallow, number 15, on his Ducati. Number 56 is Dave Webber on his classic senior Norton, and Derek Wilkie from Edinburgh on the right there on his Manx Grand Prix Kawasaki. Number 53 is Edward Poole on his classic senior Honda, and Tom Snow on the right there on his Honda 125 Manx Grand Prix bike. And then we have Grant Sellers on his classic Norton, number 67, and on the right, Renzo van der Donk on his Manx Grand Prix lightweight Kawasaki. Number 61 is Tony Ainsley's 500 Velo, a senior bike, and Jack Fowler's on his Manx Grand Prix Kawasaki. Number 22 is Mark Herbis on his Honda, and Shelley Pike on her classic junior Ducati. Classic senior and junior bikes now. Ian Bainbridge, number 65, on his Norton, and then the Beezer of Chris Bray, number 63. Back in sync now with the classic senior bikes. Number 73, Mark Purslow on a Honda, and number 21, Mark Parrott on his Norton. Next, the senior classic bike of Roy Phipps on his Honda, number 80, and Michael Rees, number 28, Manx Grand Prix newcomer on his Kawasaki. And then we should see Richard Wilson on his Honda, that's a classic senior bike, and David Burrell, number 73, on his junior Norton, also classic TT. And then the good bike coming up, number 74, is Russell Robury on his classic senior Honda, and to his left is the young lady from Czechoslovakia who featured in the programme, Veronika Harkokiova, with her Kawasaki. Next in view is number 63, Jeff Smith on his matchless, and number 79, Dave Tetley on his Ducati with the yellow fairing. Two classic bikes now, Kevin Miller, number 77 on his Honda, and Dave Todd, number 18 on his Norton, the classic senior bikes. And then another classic senior bike, number 69, Leon Murphy on his Honda, and Ray Maloney, number 32, Manx Grand Prix newcomer, Kawasaki. Stuart Hall, number 17, on his Yamaha, and number 71 is Ian Thompson on his junior classic bike. Ollie Linsdale on his senior classic Enfield is partnered by Barry Sheehan on his Manx Grand Prix Kawasaki number 22. Those were the Manx Grand Prix lightweight bikes of Nigel Ray, number 20, and Daniel Ingham, number 67. Next we have Andy Wilson, number 60, on his classic junior Suzuki, and Kevin Murphy on his Manx Grand Prix Honda, number 68. Then we have number 72, Nigel Moore on his Honda Manx Grand Prix machine, classic junior bike number 77 of Gary Hutton. Bike number 19 is Michael Russell's classic senior Norton and Thorsten Svensson's Manx Grand Prix lightweight Honda. And then we have number 76, Justin Robury's Honda, Honda 350, and Colin Croft's lightweight Manx Grand Prix Yamaha. Less than a dozen bikes to go there. Mick Morton's junior matchless, number 57, and Tommy Hendry's lightweight Manx Grand Prix bike, number 26. Chris Warr's Honda, number 30, and Jason Lamb's Honda, number 76. Dave Moffitt's classic junior bike, number 27, Honda. And over on the right there, Steve Price, Manx Grand Prix lightweight Kawasaki. Dave Houston's classic lightweight, number 26, and Neil Champion's classic Yamaha. The last three now. Number 28 is Alec Whitwell's classic Honda. We've seen him in his pit. Steve Moody's Manx Grand Prix ultra lightweight bike, Honda. And finally, Peter Creer, number 79, on his 750 Suzuki. And away they go. And now for something much more sedate. On the morning of Senior Day, August 25th, we'll walk around the pits and see what's cooking. And we should start with the Oxford Products pit, which is the Superbike pit of James Hillier and Joey Thompson and their Ducati machines. This one is receiving some significant surgery. I would say the engine was down to its basics. Our next rather longer visit is to the Davis Motorsport pit. Their machines are Hondas, beautifully turned out. And the first machine we see is the junior Honda of Lee Johnson. He rides number 13, and his senior machine is to the right of that with the yellow plate. Bike number 8 with the yellow plate is Dominic Herbertson's senior machine, which doesn't seem to be receiving or needing a deal of attention, but the next two bikes are those of Alan Oversby, his junior and senior machines. And one of those machines, I suspect the senior machine, is having a lot of work on the linkage to the gear change mechanism, the setup of which needs to be extremely precise, and several variations of setup are tried if you watch closely.
After as long as it's easy to
Yeah.
Next we move on to the Laila Racing Team pit, which is the team of Dean Harrison and Ian Locker. And this is Dean Harrison's 250 Yamaha, which is in the classic lightweight race, receiving some attention. And then we see Ian Locker's bike being wheeled off the stand. That's a 250 Honda. This is a familiar view of the Ripley Land Racing pit, and that's bike number 4, the Honda Junior bike of Michael Rutter. His senior bike, which is a Sealy, is in the background. The mechanic is dealing with the fairing there. And the next we shall see is Adam McLean's HAS Junior machine, number 5. And there's Michael's machine again.
Yeah, no, I mentioned it last night. I mentioned it the other day as well. The other one disappeared.
We've now moved on to the John Chapman Racing pit next door. And here we see Ian Locker's 3-cylinder MV, the 500 senior machine. I'm always impressed by these machines. Wonderful.
Yeah, get some more balaclavas. I think they're going to need 3 balaclavas and a pair of gloves.
And this is the Team Booger Racing pit. And the bike on the stand is Maria Costello's Senior Pattern, receiving attention to the rear wheel spindle by the look of it, to make sure that there are no last minute hitches in the wheel removal.
Same driving.
Okay, mate. Oh, we try again. Bigger hammer this time. Move everything out of the way.
First, try only the extra.
Yes.
Bike number 65 is the 1100 Suzuki, which will be raced by Alec Whitwell in the Superbike race. Funky Monk Racing. This is the pit of Paul Owen, proudly displaying the Red Dragon of Wales. The lower bike is the Superbike, his Kawasaki, and the bike on the ramp is his lightweight Honda, number 12. It's a 250 Honda.
You're becoming a man.
Is it? Is that what it is?
What, after all these fucking years? You haven't lost your virginity, have you?
Something a little more conventional and looking ready to go is number 17, Danny Webb's Senior Norton. Very nice too. And then in the background, a bike fires up, and that's Jay Lawrence's Suzuki Superbike, an 1100 machine, number 83. And there it is.
You want an action shot?
Go on then. Another bike being prepared for Monday's Superbike race. This time it's Michael Evans' Kawasaki machine, number 19, in the racing team sponsored by Wilcock Consulting. All the naked bikes look anonymous. It's not till they get their numbers on. I know.
That's it. You know where you're up to with them, do it.
You think, oh, I'll remember. This is the first Manx Grand Prix machine that we've seen this morning. It's Chris Moore's lightweight machine. It's a Yamaha TZ250, number 44. And that looks up together and ready to go. Right out of the blue, I met two gentlemen who were chatting about my films that they'd seen. And so all three of us had a chat. Excellent.
About what we're going to do this afternoon.
I think we'll see racing. We'll go up to the start near rugby pitch and watch racing. Frank?
Yeah, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Well, how long have you been doing it? How long have you been coming?
This is the second year.
Oh.
We used to come to the TT,
Yeah.
but we came here last year for this meeting. We loved it that much, so we're coming back again.
I prefer this.
Oh, I do. Yeah.
I came to the TT in '62 and again in '64, and then I didn't come anywhere near until '98, and I've been every year since. But
Yeah.
we started coming to the Manx in 2008, something like that.
Yeah.
You can't whack it.
No, it's brilliant.
Plenty of grey hair. Well, I say grey hair.
Yeah.
There we go.
Lovely.
After that very pleasant interlude, we have the opportunity now to visit the pits of Charles Rees Hardesty, where his 250 Yamaha lightweight is being run up for this afternoon's race. I saw you last year, so
You did indeed, John. Yeah, I found on the front seat of my cab with a little bit of paper that we wrote down all your details.
There you are.
When I rolled up here.
Somebody back there said I recognised your voice. I said that's Bristolian. I spoke in South Gloucestershire.
It's funny how we've all got different dialects, haven't we?
Oh, absolutely.
Outside.
Friendly banter there with one of the members of Peter Boast's teams, and two of his bikes are here. You can see his junior bike, which is a Honda over there, number 18, and the one nearest the camera is another Honda 4, this time the senior bike.
I was going to say, it's just as well they wait here. Otherwise,
So we set to try and fix it until we fuel out and everything.
What was the problem? This is the Fox Racing Organisation's pit. They're racing 500 Vincents. As you can see, number 33 is Alec Sinclair's mount. They're manufactured in France by Patrick Gaudet, but the Fox Racing Organisation carries out its own development as well. And I was just chatting there to Mr. Fox about the problems they had during practice. We saw them in the Parc Fermé earlier in the week, you may recall, earlier in this film. Anyway, they're splendidly turned out machines, and hopefully the combined development of Mr. Fox and Mr. Godet will yield results in due time.
Loctited.
What actually happened, what they've got, they've actually got a hole through their case. They've got a hole through his case. They've had to patch a hole.
Just in time, arriving at Jamie Coward's pit to watch his Craven Manx, the Ted Wolfe Craven Manx senior bike being wheeled down off the stand, presumably ready to go. And right next door we see number 20, Bob Owens Junior classic bike, the Ermaki. Gosh, I remember these racing back in the early 60s in the TT, when the Harley Davidson organisation had taken over Ermaki. I don't know whether that's still the link. Interesting bike, nevertheless. Bike number 42 is Peter Moore's Manx Grand Prix machine, lightweight class, Kawasaki. That too looks ready to go. And that's how the big boys do it. That's the green light TV team with Steve Plater on the left there, and they're putting together their Prix of events for national broadcasting. The comparison is yours. Across the way is Phil McGurk's setup, and number 28 is his senior BSA mount. And final preparations in the Davis Motorsport headquarters pit, with their senior and indeed one of their junior bikes lined up there, and a much happier looking John Davis conducting the orchestra.
The filing cabinet back in the van.
Anything that can come undone will come undone, the law of our friend Sod. Hence the wire locking of the wheel nuts and associated fittings. And Lee Johnson, one of John's riders, arrives to check up on proceedings.
Piss up some press ups.
I think he's the man he's trying to do a press up.
Yeah. Hey, it's like this, Lee.
What is the forecast? Is it due to stay dry? Or? I think so. Yeah. It's still not fully dry there now. Like over the mountain and stuff, over the. Before we bump off, switch it on.
Yeah. What is putting the fuel in? What are they for switching off? If you want, I can switch it back on.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Ah, should be fit to manage, yeah.
Do you want to advise or want
There's to be a guy there with the visor and drink and stuff, yeah.
You got the sort of
Yeah.
So I'll just do the on-off switching, but I'll keep my eye on it if you haven't done it. Before I push it, I'll do the knock on. Unless you want me to just do it.
Yeah.
No,
I'll put it on.
Yeah. Okay. I think the better what they say, you know, that might be
Yeah.
times a night, but I think what they say, love, you just switch it off and then switch it on again.
Yeah, I'll switch it on. Because we're used to doing that anyway.
Yeah, that's what I mean, I ain't trying to.
No,
It's okay, I just want to.
And now an interesting little cameo and a very well known helmet logo as we see Bruce Anstey's helmet on the bike which he will ride in the parade, and of course was his record-breaking bike at last year's event. And Mr. Paget is there to support that side of things, and there he is in discussion with one of his colleagues, looking back at the bike. No sign of Bruce, but Bruce most certainly paraded the bike to public acclaim and good wishes as he struggles with illness. And to conclude my little film, something different, as my headline says there. Something steamingly different. Views of the Isle of Man steam railway in the south of the island at Port Erin, as we watch a locomotive being prepared to make the return journey back to Douglas over the line. This fleet of engines were ordered new for the line, and some have been there for over 100 years. Built in Manchester, except for one which was built in Glasgow by Dubs. But it's a unique railway system, and long may it continue. I don't think it requires a great deal of comment from me. I hope you've enjoyed the film, and I hope you enjoy this final few minutes of steaming on the Isle of Man.
Eddie doesn't need brake. No, we don't want it. The roof of that side. Don't want to get into trouble for that. Are you in trouble? Station limit, 5 miles an hour. They work in the station. That was going hard, was it? It's anything like that, you can stop within 3-4 yards. It's slippy time, you can't know.
We watched our train disappear into the distance at the end of Port Erin station, and she will then emerge through the housing estates and make her way towards the first stop on the line, which is at Port St Mary. This actually is another train later in the day, but nevertheless it shows the proximity of the two centres of population. That's Port Erin, and Port St Mary is to the right and behind me. She makes her way along the line there between the fields. We'll stop at the little station. The railway crossing barriers will come down, and she will then make her way across the fields to Colby, on to Castletown, and ultimately to Douglas. A journey of about an hour. Very relaxing.